And so where is this like uplifting Black voices?
Do not make an Islamophobic comment.
That's not Islamophobic.
You're a lot of fun to sit with.
My question though here is, whose rights do we want to prioritize?
In the richest city, in the richest country in the world, that's disgraceful.
I don't think that his policies will help them.
The public transportation fee is voluntary.
I'm enjoying listening to this.
You're fucking brilliant, honestly. I want to hear more from you.
My name is Jade Sacker. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I also know Sydney through Columbia and through mutual friends, yeah. I made a film about political polarization and militarization in the United States, especially during the 2020 election. And now I'm working on a film about the genocide in Sudan, a scripted adaptation of The Translator. I have a nonprofit called Depth the Field, which is my greatest passion, and that's about empowering young filmmakers from systemically marginalized communities to tell their own stories. And I'm a high school teacher as well. Yeah, I teach filmmaking in a low-income school in Crown Heights. Sorry.
Wow, in the middle of the grains. Okay, well.
Yeah, we'll go.
I'm Carlos Vidares. I am a writer, critic. I write for Gagosian Quarterly, Mubi, Art in America, Freeze, San Francisco Chronicle, M+1. I'm also a filmmaker, a screenwriter, and director. I'm working on a couple films right now, including biopic based on The Translator by Daoud Hari, this bestseller about the Sudan conflict between the years of like 2000 and 2010. I'm also doing a bunch of other different kind of projects, editing the memoirs of the late filmmaker Michael Romer, one of the most underrated and of American filmmakers. And I met Sydney at a party that I hosted many moons ago in the depths of Chinatown.
My name is Savannah Craven Entau. I'm 24 and I am an activist, specifically a conservative anti-abortion activist. I also am a political commentator and I make a lot of man on the street content at usually leftist protests, sometimes more conservative events, and attempt to have conversations with people about cultural and political issues. And I'm also a regular on Newsmax, and I have a passion for fighting for this country because I believe it's going in a very negative direction. We're very divided. And so while I try to expose some of the craziness, I also try to plant a seed in some people's minds, and my goal is to have productive conversations, or at least attempt to. And so I'm very grateful to be here.
My name is Emily Gross, and I am a political podcast host. I host a podcast called Bureaucracy, where I pick an issue going on in the present news cycle, and I interview an expert on it, and while drinking a beer, because politics should not be as terrible as they currently are. I am very left-leaning, bordering on, I would say, crossed over into the progressive realm. And I also do a lot of explainers on social media, breaking down political policy issues as well.
Oh, cool. I'm David Roski. I work at a new professional network for creatives. It's a freelance marketplace, place where people can find inspiration and connect with other creative freelancers. I used to work on Wall Street for many years and decided to join a startup a few years ago, and loving the change. And from my own background, many years ago, I was very politically involved in college and in the years after, and become a lot less involved in recent years, but still very interested in policy issues. And so when Sydney invited me to this event, I thought, wow, it's going to be super fun to be able to discuss and hear from people with different perspectives, and get to understand a little bit more where various people are coming from in this current New York City environment. On the side, I'm a avid mountain climber, mountaineer, and have climbed all over the Himalayas, as well as all over Pakistan, some of the high peaks of the world.
Very cool.
Pakistan has very high peaks.
K2 is the second highest peak there. There's a number of other 8,000 meter peaks there.
You did K2.
I did, yeah.
Isn't there like a mortality rate of like 1 in 4?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. Also, without bottled oxygen, I did my peaks.
What is
so-
your lung capacity?
Pretty large, I guess. So love the outdoors and protecting the
Isn't
outdoors.
it very expensive to do that, though?
It is.
My name's Lucian Wintridge. I run a halal cart in Queens. Yeah, it didn't land. So, Lucian Wintridge, former White House correspondent during Trump's first term. I studied grand political strategy under Walter Russell Mead at Bard. It was Henry Kissinger's protege. Also worked in advertising for a couple of years. Hershey Chocolate was my major client. Kind of boring. I'm a faggot, as I mentioned earlier. Anybody here is more than permitted to say that word. I prefer it to queer.
How do you feel about gay?
How do I? Well, it's better than queer, so yeah, gay is fine.
Okay. Okay. It's just preference.
You have kind of a hot, raspy voice, by the way. Are you gay or lesbian? No?
I'm not
Tragically straight.
tragically straight.
Open-ended question. Anyone's welcome to bite. What do each of you think are the most pressing issues facing New York City?
Well, not that I think it will be addressed, but crime, obviously. Women cannot safely walk on the streets. Career criminals continue to get let out because of Alvin Bragg, because of the lack of leadership in our city. I'm a victim of Alvin Bragg's district attorney's office. I was assaulted in broad daylight on the streets of New York while conducting interviews, and I was assaulted. And I believe, with all the evidence from how my DAs that were assigned to me handled my case, that it was deliberately sabotaged. They failed to present the evidence, which was a 20-plus minute long video of a civil conversation that got a little heated, and then she decided to get physical. And this is something that's happened continually. They'll prosecute somebody like Daniel Penny, who I believe was a hero, saved women from possibly getting attacked by an insane drug addict, somebody who was under the influence.
I like that you're making a face while she is defending Penny. That's wild to me.
Why?
And why?
Also, I feel like we shouldn't interrupt her.
No, I'm just saying. Why are you so opposed to what she's saying about Penny?
I feel like we should let her finish before I answer.
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah, let's do that.
sure.
Thank you. We can disagree on how Penny decided, but I believe that he saved a really bad situation from happening. And somebody like that is prosecuted, is put through hell when he was what I believe was being a man and standing up for people on the train. And although it was tragic that that man passed away, it was because of his actions, him not being able to control himself of what happened to him. But then somebody like my assailant gets to walk free, boasts about her actions, shows no remorse for what she did. And it's telling because she is not a conservative, she is not pro-life, she's not a Christian. And so I feel like I was targeted for those reasons, and that's why my case was let go.
First of all, I'm sorry that you were assaulted. That is not okay in any regards at all. And that is like a very important foundation to make sure that you, like, absolute sympathy, and I'm very sorry that happened.
Thank you.
I remember seeing that video actually of that happening, and it was a tense situation, but there's no regards in which any type of political discussion should lead to any type of physical action, is my personal belief. Regarding crime in the city,
Penny.
do you want to let me get there or no?
Sure.
Okay. Regarding crime in the city, crime has been down. It is still absolutely a problem, but over the past couple of years, it has been significantly decreasing since the increase that all cities saw with COVID. I do think repeat offenders is absolutely a problem, but I think it also stems back from the lack of resources that are available for housing and mental health for these people, right? Because people don't commit crimes unless they're in dire need, right? Dire straits, in my opinion. And regarding Daniel Penny, I understand. Remind me his name.
Jordan Neely.
Jordan Neely.
Who, if you're defending somebody, you should know the black guy who.
You're a lot of fun to sit with. Regarding Jordan Neely. Right. Regarding Jordan Neely, I understand he had been arrested like 30-something times, right? I fully recognize and I understand that. Was he saying inflammatory things? Absolutely. Did people feel threatened? Absolutely. Was he physical in any way? No, he wasn't. And you're allowed to be scared. You're allowed to feel that, but someone should not, if someone's not being physically violent and has not done anything to physically, and I'm talking physically, intimidate, then why do you have the right to lay your hands on someone else, is my feeling regarding that. And it wasn't just a subduing of Jordan Neely, it was a killing of Jordan Neely. It didn't have to be a 5-minute long chokehold, right?
He didn't die because of the chokehold. You know that, right?
He did die because of the chokehold.
He didn't. If you
What
look
was
at
your-
the
what
coroner's
is-
report, he was put in a Nelson hold, right? Which any Marine is taught just subdues somebody. He died later. What is it? An hour and a half after he was pulled from the train.
But ultimately,
I have a couple of questions just to what you said. So what would you say that my assailant's need was, because you said nobody commits a crime unless they're in dire need of something, and you said that maybe it's housing, maybe it's food. My assailant had both of those things. She boasted about working for $1 billion company. She had a Louis Vuitton bag on, and not to say anything, but she's clearly well fed, you know. And so what do you think her excuse was, or her reasoning for needing to do that? Like what state was she in that's the reason?
And I probably should have clarified and been more specific, right? I do think it was a tense situation, right? I do think you were fair in asking the questions and trying to do it. But I also think you were trying to get a rise out of the person as well. And people don't always act rationally when they're being provoked, and whether or not you were trying to provoke, it did appear from the video that you were really trying to engage in a very heated discussion regarding this.
So Savannah deserved being.
Are you going to let me finish or no? Is that going to be a problem for this entire dinner?
I'll let you go, but I do disagree with nearly.
You can disagree with me, absolutely, but have some respect and let me and let her finish. You understand?
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, so why couldn't she have just walked away? Because obviously abortion is a very intense conversation. It's dividing our country right now. One side believes the truth that abortion deliberately and intentionally rips a growing human life out of a mother's womb. And the other side believes that it's choice, that it is a human right, that it is empowering, and that nobody should question it because it's her body, her choice. So yes, of course, it's a difficult conversation, but I've had hundreds, if not thousands at this point, conversations with people on college campuses, with people online. Oh, you're fine. I keep kicking you. And people on the streets. And not one person has, I mean, they maybe wanted to, but they did not take it upon themselves to not just punch me once, but then punch me again, punch me twice. And so we're adults. It's not like we're kids and we hit when we don't get what we want. I was not holding her down in that interview. Why couldn't she just be an adult and walk away?
She should have.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, but that's something that she said, was that I provoked her into doing that, which I think a little bit is victim blaming, because it doesn't matter what I was saying to her. I could have been calling her ugly, fat, I wasn't, but I could have been attacking her personally. That's still protected under free speech, but what's not protected under free speech is her putting her hands on me.
Yeah.
So although maybe you think I was trying to provoke her, nothing that I said to her was different than any other conversation I've had. I knew it was getting heated. Like I said, it's a heated topic, but I simply repeated what she said, which she doubled down on, which she claimed that it is better for kids to be aborted, aka killed, than to be born into a difficult situation. And I think we can all agree here that we've all been through difficult situations. We are not promised a perfect life. All of us have trials and tribulations, but what makes life so beautiful is overcoming those.
Yeah. I don't think Emily can like speak to her like mental state, but I think we're all really sorry that that happened to you. But I think you should be encouraged by Mamdani's likely victory, because he's going to do a lot to strengthen social services and psychological services to address systemic issues behind crime, so that we're not reacting, but we're being proactive.
Okay, but why is it that the city why should I as a taxpayer be forced to pay for people who cannot control their mental state? They've either made decisions throughout their life, or, it's horrible that they've gone through traumatic situations, but there are also people who've gone through traumatic situations or have mental illnesses that don't just go out on the street and assault people they disagree with. It is not my responsibility to pay for somebody's medical services, whether it be mental or physical, right? I just don't think that that's fair. And Mamdani may be promising those services, but then he's also talking about like defunding the police, which guess who I called when I was assaulted? The police. Guess who arrested my assailant? The police.
So the defund the police thing was something that he had tweeted, I believe, a couple years ago, especially when George Floyd was going on. At the present moment, he has no plans to defund the police. He does not plan on adding more police officers, which Cuomo does plan on doing. But at the present moment, and anyone can fact check me, please correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, he does not plan on defunding the police. What he does plan on doing is actually adding a new department, which is going to be managing community safety and try to help these New Yorkers that are suffering and get them the help they need, the sustainable help they need. And what you experienced was horrible. It should never have happened, right? But it is also a different situation from the like continuous mental health and housing crisis that affects a lot of the New Yorkers that Mamdani is focusing on trying to get back to a better place, right? Like the person who attacked you, it was a very specific situation. It does not take away from the fact that you were absolutely attacked and that should never have happened, but also a lot of the crime going on in the city is regarding not because of that situation, not because of that individual situation that occurred.
Yeah, but for me, that was my situation. It affected me immensely. Mentally, physically, obviously. So why is he focusing on giving mental health services to people who have assaulted people, raped people, who are mentally unwell? But where was my help? He's not saying he's going to try to reopen all of these cases for victims of violent, unprovoked attacks and crimes. Where's my help?
I'm curious what the general thoughts are about policy, thinking about policy in terms of providing a system of incentives that regulates behavior as opposed to policy that nurtures an individual for sake of their own flourishing.
My question though here is, whose rights do we want to prioritize in our society? Because whether someone has a mental health issue or some other reason that justifies it or whatever, do we want to prioritize the rights of the majority who are innocent, good citizens? Or do we want to prioritize the rights of the perpetrators who are very few? Like there's a minority of people who are causing like all the crime in any one of these big cities. So I think it's kind of people use this term suicidal empathy, but it's a trait of the far left to focus more and more on on the rights of those causing problems rather than protecting the rights of the innocent. And we see cities like San Francisco that are spending unreal amounts of money protecting people who are mentally ill, criminals, etc. And the problem is just growing. It's an incentives problem, whereas people who are upstanding citizens are not protected. I think that society should protect the rights of good citizens. You look at like the Irina Zarutska case. This guy, maybe he's schizophrenic, maybe he's not. Does it matter? He should have been locked up and society protected from him. Right. And then like just kind of stepping back a little bit more, I think like for New York City, the most important things are safety, economic opportunity for people, education. And when I look at Mamdani's policies, I think he has a lot of things that sound very pleasing to people. And so it's kind of like the class president who like is promising everything is free and great. So let's vote for him. But I actually,
free juice boxes.
But I actually think that his policies are going to hurt the people that he's proposing to help. You have cases like rent control. This is like an insiderism. Like this is like prioritizing those who already have housing. Newcomers will never be able to get housing because when you lock rent, nobody's ever going to leave. No like new housing is actually going to be built. This is like actually very exclusionary, but it just protects the people who are already here. When you raise taxes a ton, people leave who are actually contributing to the tax base, so now you have less money to fund these programs. When you defund the police, you saw this in Minneapolis, homicide went up 20%, defunding the police. So it sounds great, but it actually hurts these marginalized communities.
Yeah.
Focusing on economic growth, safety for everyone, educational growth are actually the ways I think to help the very people he's purporting to help. It's just that what he's saying, it's kind of like rhetoric over results. I feel like it's vibes-based voting, and people who, especially people who are young, idealistic, right out of college. I remember myself in college, I voted for every single like bill on the California ballot that said like tax the wealthy, because it's just like, cool, it's not my money. It's gonna like, sounds great. But as you get a little bit older and you realize, oh, some of these policies have like second order effects. Some of them are counterproductive, and some of them are like just sound pleasing, but they're actually physically impractical and impossible to get through. So my opinion, like that's why he's like not good for the needs of the very people he's trying to protect.
Respectfully, does anyone here make over $1 million?
In my head.
Right. Does anyone here make over $1 million?
Well, it's great because you're not going to be taxed anymore.
That's exactly the reason.
Well, I'm thinking about the peaks.
So if you make over $1 million, you'll be taxed 2% more, which is on par with New Jersey.
Right, and then also
I
on
do
par
not
with.
want to be on par with New Jersey. They're not doing great.
Well, actually, Carlos, I just want to check this stat of mine. Who are you leaning towards voting for? Because I can guess these guys, myself and Savannah.
Mamdani.
We almost had a perfect stat here with the liberal arts school educated white women and all the guys,
But so
regardless
my
of race
question
or
for you
anything
is,
else.
Yeah.
If it results in lower tax revenue, like just because it doesn't affect you, does that seem like the right policy?
Do you
No, but
think
I would-
trickle-down economics work?
I just think like if this drives the tax base lower, then
But do
like,
you think trickle-down economics
Carlos,
I should
you
also
speak.
say Jade did not go to a liberal arts school. She's homeschooled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm homeschooled.
And Jade also Jade got her GED.
It is, what is it? Around 80% of white women between the age of 25 and 45 are Mamdani. Guys in that same
And what
age
also
range
is
aren't.
part of that cohort? What else is part of that cohort?
What else?
Yeah. Some of the most educated
Being
people
white,
out here.
Well, also white.
And
women,
also
a
one of the
liberal arts
most
school.
educated groups out there.
How do you
wanna-
scale like
Oh
those
my God, the most
educated-
I've been wanting
educated
to-
people.
It's a fact.
like,
They're the ones who have the
pro-Mamdani.
highest
But
degrees of.
whose opinion?
Well,
is
we're
Further
talking,
education.
no, educated college guys
Educated-
are not going with Mamdani. It's the educated college
Women are also more women are going to college more and completing 4-year degrees more than men
Yeah,
these
thanks
days.
for stealing the slots from us guys.
Can I redirect us a little bit? Because I'd like to
you were
respond
gonna
to what
say
you
something.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Mamdani is going to win, most likely. I would like to address some of your anxieties. When it comes to like affordable housing, freezing the rent,
Right.
I actually think he's going to build 200,000 more units of affordable housing. Look, the government shut down right now, right? So they're going to stop distributing food stamps. People are going to have to choose between buying food for their children or paying for their rent. There's going to be a homelessness crisis, which is a lot more expensive for the government than affordable housing. And I can say as a high school teacher, when I see kids coming to school several days in a row wearing the same clothes, falling asleep at their desks, I wonder what's going on behind the scenes. And 1 in 8 children in New York City experience homelessness. It's 150,000 kids. In the richest city in the richest country in the world, that's disgraceful.
I don't think that his policies will help them.
Well, also,
Yeah.
there's also on the ballot,
them
there's
there.
3 housing policies, right? They're not related to the mayor. So there are 3 housing policies that are designed to make building more housing easier, right? Because there have been a lot of holdups, absolutely. Like, you know, things get absolutely caught down in red tape and
That's the solution.
bureaucracy. Right, so there are 3 things, but that's also not tied to the mayor. those are tied to individual votes in New York City.
They should make it much easier to build. That's the answer. Rent controls always lead to shortages. It's like it's a fact.
But it's not the only
What is
thing.
the long, like,
Around the
what is
world.
the long-term goal? Because if you tell someone, a single mom or a low-income family, you can only make this much in order to stay in this low-income housing. So guess what? There's no incentive, there's no motivation to get out of that situation. And that is the problem that I have. And being raised by a single mother, there was a short period of time where my mom had to go on food stamps to, provide for me. She was in between jobs. But as soon as she got a good paying job, she got off of it. Because it's meant to be a hand up, not a hand out.
Right.
But what Lyndon B. Johnson and what Obama did was put a bunch of people on welfare, majority in the black community,
Right.
and we're like, the more kids you have, as long as you're unmarried, the more benefits you get. And so what's the incentive? I mean, one thing that's really interesting is, obesity is plaguing black women.
Right.
Okay? So we want to talk about, people are going to have to decide between feeding their kids, feeding their family. Most black women you see have their hair done. They have a weave. Most of them have their nails done. It's not cheap to get your nails done, to do your hair, to put braids in. And so when we look at that, like I said, there's no incentive for them to get out of that situation that originally should have been meant as a hand up, not a hand out. And that is the issue that I have. And why is it that I'm 24 years old, okay? I was not raised in a rich family, like I said, raised by a single mom. There was one year where my mom only made $10,000. That's not a lot of money. But she made it work. We moved from DC down to South Carolina because it was more affordable. She wanted to raise me in a bit of a safer place, less expensive place. She bought our little 3-bedroom house for $120,000, spent almost all our money to do so, and she paid her mortgage $400 a month every single month. Mm-hmm. And she never went into debt. So why are we making excuses for other people? Why didn't my mom get that same sympathy?
Well, when your mom was making $10,000 a year, do you still think she deserved to lead a dignified life?
Yeah, but that was on her that she unfortunately was only making $10,000 that year.
Are you saying it was undignified of her mom to make so little?
No, I'm saying she deserved to lead a dignified
I
life.
would say we still
And to
had
have
a
her
pretty
resources
dignified
met.
life
Yeah, so-
because my mom set us up in a situation. I think this is what we need to hold more people accountable, is stop using whatever situation you were born into as an excuse to live your life that way for the rest of your life. I mean, if we think about any celebrity or any incredible person, I mean, look at someone like Malala and people that a lot of people on the left look up to, right? All of them have these stories where they came from almost nothing or they went through some horrible abuse and they turned their life around. They didn't use that negative experience, that tragedy that they were born into, to define how the rest of their life was going to be. And yeah, it's a little strange that thinking that somebody that makes that little cannot still live a dignified life. I don't know if that's what you were trying to imply there.
not at all, the
but
opposite.
my mom had everything because she had me. She set us up properly where she had her home. And I never knew that she made $10,000 one year until later in life because she never made me feel without. All I needed was God, my mom, and anything that she could provide me
She
with.
sounds like an incredible woman. I'm not taking that away from her. And thank God the government was there, when she needed it, to support you guys as well.
Yeah, but my point
That's
is
a backhand right there. Thank God the government was there. when
Was
she
the
needed it.
government not there?
Wow.
Sorry,
mean-
what would have happened if she didn't go on food stamps?
Well, I think she would have just had to figure it out, but would that then
Would you
be
gone
okay
hungry?
for her to then go rob stores and commit crime? No, that would not be
And
okay.
I think to your point, though, you're saying that these programs, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, you were just saying it was a backhanded comment, but I think it's fair to say that having some kind of system there, like you said, temporarily, I don't think there's any dissonance there. I think that a society that has a temporal outlet for people to, like a hand up, you said?
Yeah.
Up, yeah. And I didn't answer your question well before about how do you deal with that, the mental health crisis, but kind of melds with this is, the reason why I moved over rightward is because I started to, it had not really much to do with the polemic aspect of politics and feeding into a narrative per se, but it was more like, just again, it's studying psychology, honestly, and this is just from my experience thinking about the individual, whereas the kind of psychology that you see in universities, and even before you get into university, we're inundated with this idea that having a bad experience in life will inevitably lead to a trauma, or will inevitably lead to you having worse outcomes. And so I looked into that, and it just didn't. It was not clear that that was at all what the data show. And so to kind of ride that point home, what I started to look into then was, all right, then how do people persevere? How do people actually become resilient? And it turns out not top down. It's from the community. It's your community, the people who know you best, who know your needs best, who build you up. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that actually tends to have better effects for bringing people out of poverty, for bringing people closer together. And when you have the government do that ad nauseum, in perpetuity, just like even when you don't need it, you create a sort of auxiliary mother, an auxiliary sort of father, a paternalistic system where, and this is the LBJ problem, fathers were arbitrary at this point. It's like, all right,
just throw them out. They're not necessary.
And so now you have a mother, a father, and as the government, and then you have a whole group of people, a demographic, who become infantilized. And I think that one of the things that really turned me off was watching, and I know this sounds a little weird because there's a dissonance in my mind, because it's kind of a beautiful thing to see it on one hand, but on the other hand, it was emblematic of the problem that I was starting to see after George Floyd. You had a lot of white, liberal leading people barricading black individuals. And on the one hand, it was like, all right, I can get on board with our instinct to want to be egalitarian and help each other and be there. But then on the other hand, again, looking at the sociological literature, the psychological literature, there's always been a little bit of a dissonance with particularly white liberals, kind of creating this caricature of the lowly minority who needs my help.
White savior power.
Yeah.
And all
I agree with you.
So, Carlos, do you have anything you'd like to add? Because your mother, I know well, she migrated from Honduras, correct?
Correct.
And provided an incredible life for you. You're doing incredible things, and you voted for Mamdani. So
I'm enjoying listening to this. Because I'll say just one thing right now. It's just like I feel like I grew up in very particular, and obviously all of us have grown up in very particular politicized circumstances. My kind of response to, I think, the kind of rhetoric that politics encourages in people, which I would like to say reject. Like, you asked me like who I was voting for, I give you a very one-word answer, Mamdani. That doesn't cover the kind of fullness of who I am as a person. That I achieved through art. I saw through the kind of realm that art, which is political, exists within art, like how it relates to us fundamentally as human beings, and fundamentally as like different members of like a community or society. I think that I come particularly from that background, like as a Latino immigrant who comes to the country and naturalized and was born in the United States. And like growing up particularly in South Central Los Angeles, where the wealth disparities are just kind of so kind of readily apparent, and the different kind of like stratums of class that I kind of navigated through my mother as someone who was dependent of her in the first 20 years of my life. All that to say that would fill up a book, that would fill up a novel, that would fill up a film. What I respond to is the particular conversations that I've had with people. And like, this is not like I'm saying a lot, but I'm not saying anything at all, because I would like to continue to understand why, in particular, for me as like a teacher also of like young students, I was educated at Stanford, I'm at Yale right now doing a PhD in film and art history, and I talk to these students, white liberals who personally can aggravate me. But in other respects they are everybody, but in other respects they are people that are like us. They're just like people that are struggling, they're young, they have been thrown into a world that they have no conception of. They have no understanding of history or politics or talking with each other. And they're learning things for themselves. And on that level, whether they identify as liberal, conservative, left, or right, my heart is always, I feel like, and the particular art that I gravitate towards, whether it's somebody, on the left like Tolstoy or on the right like Dostoevsky, understands this kind of very precious time in young people's lives where you're forming a sense of who you are and in relationship to the community. And I'm just like, I just want to keep listening to people. I don't really have anything.
Can I ask
Well,
you
I
a
mean, that was
question, though?
beautiful. You're fucking brilliant, honestly. I want to hear more from you.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yes, I point and question.
Yeah, so going back to, you were mentioning community, and I agree with, I'm sure the more left-leaning people here are not fans of Ronald Reagan, that's fine, but he has a quote where he said that the scariest word you'll ever hear is, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help you. As somebody who, I already mentioned, I'm an anti-abortion activist. That means that I am on the sidewalks trying to offer women who are going in for an abortion actual other choices than an abortion, attempting to speak with her, learn about her situation. And I do that for free. It's volunteer, right? It's not the government that's out there doing that. They should be offering other choices. But going out there trying to talk to people one-on-one, really learn their situation, because let's be honest, the government does not care about your situation. They don't care who you are. They see you as a social security number. They see you, politicians on both sides, any side, see you as a vote. They don't care where you came from. They don't really care your situation. They don't care how hard things have been for you. They want to know, are you going to benefit me? And that's what politics are about. That's why when, even, I'm sure you guys cringe at the whole MAGA movement, and sometimes I do too, because it's like, dude, why are you wearing a shirt with like 40 Trump faces on it? It's giving idolatry, and as a Catholic, we don't do that. But it's a little weird, and obviously there's weird stuff on the left too. But where change is really made, and where I've been able to see it on college campuses while helping students start pro-life groups, where there have been teen moms or pregnant moms who come to these student leaders, part of these groups, and say, I need to abort my child because my boyfriend's not going to show up for me, or I don't feel like I can do this because I'm trying to get my degree. And we say, no, you're a woman, you're stronger than your circumstances, you can do this. We're going to offer you all options. If you want to keep your child, amazing, we'll help you with that financially, maternal housing, whatever it may be, if you're in a difficult situation, or if you want to look into adoption, we have that option as well, and we can help you with that. And so offering community and being person to person is where I think society will benefit way more than relying on a bunch of, black faces, people that we'll never see in the government, that have no idea who we really are, don't care about our circumstances.
Can I hone in on one part? Because I think we can all find common ground of community and the importance of people in the community on the ground being able to support each other. Like that, I think, is so fundamentally important, right? And I think, I personally believe, listen, I disagree with you a lot on most things regarding abortion and stuff like that. But you're also trying to provide community, and that is something that I can totally appreciate and respect tremendously, because it is hard. Top-down stuff is hard. It rarely provides the resources that are needed in the specific ways, right? But until there is, my personal feeling, until there is a better option, would I love if there's a better option? Absolutely. But until there's a better option, taking it away just harms the people that do need it, right? But I think with you, white liberal saviorism, an absolute problem, without a doubt.
It's driving the ship.
But for a lot of reasons, right? It comes from a good place, but it is absolutely white saviorism. And
Does it come from a good
You don't
place?
think you're exercising the white saviorism or the white humiliation ritual?
I don't think
which
so.
part? Where?
I mean,
In
all
what-
of it.
in what regard?
You flinched when she said, well, she didn't say Jordan Neely, but Daniel Penny, right? My God, how dare he kill poor Jordan Neely, who was screaming,
I
I'm
don't
going
feel
to
like
kill
that's
you.
white saviorism. I feel like that's my
Well,
opinion.
No, I don't see that as white saviorism per se.
Okay, so if
Come at me, different one.
okay, if the woman who punched Savannah was white, right? So you said you saw the
Or a
video multiple
man.
times.
I can't remember
Or a man,
who it was.
yeah.
I have no idea
So
who it
would
was.
you not defend the woman and say, oh well, we could have gotten her other services, we could have come up with a
Savannah was attacked.
by a black woman. If it was a white man or a white woman, would your reaction to that be different?
No, my reaction is she absolutely should not have been harmed in any way, shape, or form.
What should the punishment be for the person who attacked Savannah?
I don't know, and I'm not going to speak on something that I'm not entirely educated on.
I do have a point.
Emily's initial defense of
Yeah,
Savannah's
and I do have a point. For this is not like I'm saying this is all leftist, but one thing that I have noticed when there is a violence from the left, it's either two things. It's the victim's fault for, like you used the word, provoking the person or saying something that was offensive, which is why this person caused the crime, or it's a mental thing, or that, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
Sorry, I was grabbing
So sorry.
I was distracted. I'm sorry.
Permissibility in the left with violence.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was one of the points. But then when it's on the right, then if a person commits an act of violence, well, they're a Nazi, they're insane, jail them. I mean, I don't agree with everything that happened on January 6th, but the fact that people were called like old grandmas were called insurrectionists for walking into the Capitol building while the police were escorting them. It's all on video. This is not my opinion. While the police were escorting them inside, and then my assailant, like, come on in.
Hey, you want to talk about this part?
She's not wrong.
And
She's
then,
not wrong.
and then people want to say, well, this person on the left, this large, out of control black woman who assaulted another black woman who disagrees with her, well, she just needs mental health services. And like your opinion, actually a lot of people agree with. And one thing I will also mention is the majority of people who sided with her look like me. And so where is this like uplifting black voices, empowering black women? Oh, it's only when women disagree with you. It's only when those people share the same opinions as you. But as soon as it's somebody who's a Christian, who's different, who has different opinions, that's when you no longer are welcome. And that's true with the feminist movement as well. I mean, God forbid you be against late-term abortion or second-term abortions. Well, no, because what if a woman doesn't know she's pregnant at 40 weeks or at 35 weeks and she needs to have, I mean, these are real conversations I've had. I'm not making this up. Yeah. Like, oh, we can't limit abortion because what if a woman has a cryptic pregnancy, or, you know, what if she has an irregular period? Like, she needs to have an abortion at any time. And that's
going to the
barbaric to me.
The outliers.
So it's like you only belong in the club if you agree with every single thing that some leftists agree with, and that's just so unfair. And that's why you guys are losing so badly, because there's no common ground anymore.
And I can understand and I can agree with that on some elements, totally. I do think leftists do sometimes get really caught up in the super nitty-gritty that does push people aside, right? And instead of trying to find the common ground. But, like, not but. And I hope you don't feel like I was diminishing your experience at all, because I hope you understand like what you went through is not okay in any regards, and I'm not trying to provide, and I'm not trying to victim blame you in any way. So if you do feel like that, I'm very sorry.
I mean, you don't have to apologize, but
no, but sure.
I mean that's how it came across.
And I apologize
like,
for that.
Well, you know, you were, whether I was trying to provoke her or not. I mean, there was nothing that I said. I didn't say, "Come on, bitch, hit me." I didn't say, "Come on, I want a viral moment," or, you know, "You're ugly." What, like. That's just not me.
That's what rhetoric
I'm
has-
actually like an introvert most of the time. I love little things like this, and I love talking to people on the street. But like, as my husband, I am reading a book or in my bed when I'm at home. I love being alone, and so, you know, yeah.
No, and I think what you reminded me what I was trying to get at, and I think Carlos was about to hit on this as well. But the upstream media, the top of the top media, we generalize. It's generalized.
Yeah.
It's generalizing.
Yes.
It is
Bad.
looking for these like, I gotcha moments.
Right.
It is looking for these
Which is
things
not where
that
the truth lies.
exactly,
That's
and that's
right.
not the reality of what's going on the ground in every single situation that we've discussed. Right? We're able to talk about these things, and it's so easy to say, well, this group wants to do this and this group wants to do that. Well, I think we forget sometimes to look at like the humanity behind the individual
Yes.
people. We're not just talking about a general group. Once you
Right.
start doing that, you then get into the whataboutisms, you get
Right.
into the trying to rage bait. You're doing these things that take away from the actual individual. And once you do that, that's when we start to lose our humanity and our ability to be able to actually connect and talk to one another.
Because they don't see you as an individual when you disagree with them. That's the problem that I have. Like, that's one of the reasons I go out to these events, because people are so nice to me. They see me. I'm a young brown woman, they automatically assume like I'm a Democrat voter, I'm there. And then as soon as I start to ask questions and God forbid even challenge their viewpoints and what I mean by challenge is just asking them to back up what they're out there for, and they fail to do that, or they say, oh, I see where this is going. And I'm like, where is it going? I'm just asking you a question. That's when the insults start. That's when, the harassment starts. I mean, I went to that Labor Day protest down by Trump Tower, and I was followed around with right-wing troll signs when I was out there to just try and have productive conversations on, why are you protesting Labor Day? Because they were saying that, oh, Trump is taking away all the jobs.
So my question,
Yes.
you're publicly Mom Donnie supporter, and I'm just curious, like, what of his policies do you actually think are going to be better for you or the people that you care about?
What is going to personally benefit me?
Yeah, and like for real, like if you filter his promises down to what you actually think he can affect
Right.
in real life, what is it that like it attracts you to him, or is it about what he stands for? Like setting what he stands for aside, what is it that you think he will accomplish that you think is better for you?
I mean, what's better for me is what I consider better for like the rest of the city. And I know that may
Sure.
sound very
Okay.
socialistic,
And those
communistic,
are
whatever.
And what are those things?
Bugaboo, but like,
Thanks for admitting that.
well, no, I mean, but I think part of the problem is that people have no understanding in this country of what even socialism or communism is, because there's been a very kind of, since like the 50s, a kind of very McCarthyite conception of what communism, kind of looping it into the horrible Stalinist kind of interpretation of that, which was one of the major interpretations, but not the sole one. The policies around grocery stores, the policies around kind of a more concentrated focus on education and mental health services, I think are the ones that would personally benefit me, not in the sense that I'm going to have like a very concrete, like here's a plan that says this is how it's going to benefit me, in the sense that there was some kind of ease, there's some kind of like commonality, this common feeling, although apparently like, I don't even really blame specific people, like voters who don't want to vote for him on like feeling uneased by him. That my problem is kind of largely with the kind of the media, mainstream, and like people that kind of lean liberal or lean right, that just kind of stoke a kind of rhetoric that does not seem to be at all close to lived reality, how kind of day-to-day New Yorkers see it.
Being scared of the terms that he's either socialist or communist. So if if our ideas about socialists and communists are off, could you redefine them for me?
Well, I mean, socialism, I would love to hear what you think socialism/communism is.
Well, you're saying that everything that you already know is in my brain is incorrect, and there are different definitions. So I want to hear the new definitions.
Well,
that are very exciting.
That's
a good-
And where has socialism worked well that we can point to, like, that is what America needs? And
Also,
specifically
yeah.
the most capitalist, richest, most effective city in the United States.
I'll add a caveat, not including Nordic countries, which are homogeneous.
Yeah, all of those.
Wow. Exactly.
That's
Just
a
an
lot.
honest question. Yeah, I mean,
So first, where has socialism worked well, and why? How, where can we see
It was
that?
3
that
years before the United States intervened in it, Chile.
in Chile?
Yes. From the years of 1969 to 1972, under Salvador Allende, but also largely through the kind of party that he galvanized, the UPI, Popular Unity.
It worked well for a total of 3 years.
Correct, yes. And
Okay,
then
so in a non-white
Kissinger,
country,
Nixon,
where did it work for over
and
3 years?
I'm sorry, what?
I have to look into Chile.
Yeah.
Yes.
me too.
Over 3 years, in a non-white country, where has it worked? Or in a multicultural?
I would, okay,
Multicultural is
that's interesting. Non-white, that's a U.S. parlance. That would not be, I would say, how Chileans.
Sweden, Denmark had it sort of.
How's Venezuela doing? How did Cuba?
Let's talk about Cuba.
in totality, the whole picture, I mean, it is true that the more multicultural the place, I mean, the harder it is, I think, to implement these socialist ideas.
Yeah, a priori, but South
Right.
America has had as
Yeah,
much
that's
immigration as North America
That's very true,
has.
yeah.
Yes, a large Jewish
From Europe
population,
and
especially
Africa.
Right.
kind of escaping the pogroms
Right,
in the
right.
late 19th century.
The Jews broke
Soviet
into South
Russia.
America too?
I'm sorry?
I'm kidding.
Sorry.
Inappropriate joke.
Oh, yeah.
One example you mentioned was the grocery stores, but grocery stores operate on like 2% margins. So, like they're like they make no money, and you expect the government to run them better than the ones down the street. Like the only example we've had of that in America was in Kansas City. It was shut down in August of this year. That lost them like $30 million. It was the shelves were empty, just like they were in Soviet Union and elsewhere. So
There's also
like,
the food stores in the 1930s during the New Deal when Roosevelt used, and that's kind of misunderstood both on both sides, particularly liberal sides, by
so you
saying
think
that
the
that was a
government can run
socialist
the
policy.
grocery
but-
store better?
I'm sorry?
I mean, you mentioned the grocery store. You
He
think
wasn't talking about
Mamdani?
Roosevelt admin. This was recently tried.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
just
this
tried.
was
But
recently,
like, do you
and
so you
the
think
meat
this
was
is-
rotting.
Well, he plans to set
Can
the
I-
grocery
Not
costs
enough
in
people-
place.
When-
So
let's
sorry.
hit
Can
the
we talk
grocery
about
thing
his policies really quickly?
Yeah.
So grocery
Well,
is
that
the first
was one
point.
of his
Yeah.
policies.
No, no, no. But the specifics of the policy.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what
sure.
we're talking about.
Right, the specifics of the policy. He has said that he's like, let's try it out, let's see how it goes. It's
Yeah.
not going to be a grocery store on every street corner. It's going to be specifically in places where there are food deserts, and it's going to be one per borough to start.
Right, but
which
we
is what
have
he's
evidence
trying.
of how that's worked in similar
But there,
areas.
I cannot remember the exact city, but I do remember reading a New York Times article. Which, if you guys have problems with New York Times, I understand.
No.
Right,
We're open to
but
everything.
Yeah.
But reading a New York Times article that this is not a new, uniquely American situation, uniquely
But
like
like New
New
York
York policy. This has been done in other cities in the U.S. and has been done successfully.
Can you name a case study where it has been
Did
carried
you hear
out?
what I said when I can't remember the exact name?
Oh my gosh. My last boyfriend says my dick is 20 inches.
Why are we talking about your penis so much?
You're talking about all these
I'm going to
free
use
grocery
this as a
stores that worked
segue
out.
for this question.
It's an
That
insane.
is that,
Okay,
that I
okay,
really
so
would love to get
rec-
into.
like,
Girth.
In 2025, when people are so desperate, and this is again, I keep picking on you, but
Go for
it's
it.
your
It's-
point.
I put myself out there.
Yeah,
Go
which
for
is
it.
great.
Go for it.
You know, people, in your opinion, people go and commit crimes because of their situations that they're in. If people are willing
Sometimes.
to be, yeah, okay.
Yes.
If people are willing to go and rape people, assault people, harm people because they're in a state of tragedy, and you give them a grocery store. I mean, look what happened during COVID. People were buying like 5,000 rolls of toilet. I don't think I'll use 5,000 rolls of
that's-
toilet paper my whole life. But what do you think is going to happen to those stores, especially in a place like New York City that has so much homelessness, that has so much mental illness? That store will last one day.
They're all going to go there. There's only going to be a few.
What you've just done is a rhetorical flourish, though. I don't know if I follow that. Why is it that the rapers, the assaulters, the killers, the criminals, that's not the people that are the same people
Yeah, so my point
affected by
was-
the
Rapists
grocery
eat
store.
too.
So-
Oh,
That's
yes.
not my
Yes.
point. My point is, if people are willing to go as far as harm other people, what do you think that mentally ill people are going to do, or people that say that they are hungry going to do when they see a grocery store where they can go and take anything? Maybe there's not anybody there all the time because the government can't afford to have employees all the time. That was part of the issue with the place in Kansas City, the grocery store there, is that the meat started rotting, the shelves were completely empty, the place turned into a dump. Very quickly, it reeked because there were not employees there. And I think another thing is it's going to destroy a lot of the little mom and pop shops, people like immigrants who have risked everything to come here and set up little fruit stores. I live in the Bronx. I have a little fruit store that's pretty close to my house. It's run by two little Asian individuals, and they work that store sun up to sundown cutting vegetables. Because why? Because they care. They provide the community with quality produce, with discounted things, and guess what? You still got to go there and pay for it, and you should, because they've worked and they've provided that and wake up every single day and they're living what the American dream is.
Yeah, I am wondering,
I'm
like, I'm
you guys
wondering.
want to take that one?
Oh, go on. Do you want to answer? I don't want to.
No, you go.
No, I'm throwing it out. I'm wondering, we do have the, pretty good empirical data. It's not just extrapolation, one situation, and, I think I'll apply it here. that shows that these supermarkets don't work. And I think just practically speaking, being kind of thinking the most, Occam's razor, you have a few of these locations. Okay, fine, that's a fair point. It's not everywhere. Maybe people are exaggerating it, but then you jump into the nitty gritty, which is human behavior. People will go to these locations and they will be emptied out real quick, and the profit margins are very, very slim, and you generate chaos. And so then you have intergroup chaos, you have a class issue. Who gets to decide who goes to these supermarkets? Middle class people, rich people, you can be anyone and you can go and the shelves will be empty. And then you'll have your neighborhood, people in your neighborhood who will not be able to get. This is very predictable. It's not just kind of coming up with some kind of theory. I mean, so I'm just kind of wondering what.
I don't see this as a problem specifically.
Okay, so have you ever been to a low-income grocery store in Manhattan before?
In Los Angeles, yes. In Manhattan, no.
Never. Okay, so I live in the East Village. 4 blocks from me, there's a place where you can still get an avocado for 25 cents and meat for a couple dollars. Okay. You don't need a ton of money to be able to get proteins and vegetables and just shop, right? Mm-hmm. And Mamdani's proposition is that all of a sudden the government, state and borough governments get into the grocery business, which is insane to me. It's a wild, insane proposition. Why?
Probably because you want to keep it privatized. You want to like Gristetti's, the privatized company, or like what's another one? Food for Less. These are my Ralph's.
Okay, so we have the government step in. Food for Less goes out of business, right? All these very affordable, cheap
private
stores.
Aldi.
From 5 grocery stores and food deserts when the normal grocery stores won't go.
Yeah, but it's also good. Okay, so Mamdani is the main thing, right? Free grocery stores, free buses. That
They're not free grocery stores. Be specific if you're going to spew misinformation.
$2.75. A bus is $2.75. How much is it?
Yeah, but it's not a free grocery store.
$2.19.
Okay,
so there's a $2.19 barrier to entry, right? With our bus system in Manhattan, let's remove the $2.19. Have
$2.90. When was the last time you took a bus or took the train?
Well, that $2.90, I guess, is too much for me. So you'll have people like me on the bus. Do you want that?
Well, that's why the
I would have to have you on the bus.
Because like law-abiding citizens like me pay the $2.90. It was $2.75, but then because there was so much fare evasion by people who say, "F that, I'm not paying for the train system."
If you remove that $2.90, we will have just moving homeless shelters.
Right.
Circling the city.
Who is supposed to pay the transit workers that have to stay down with the rats all day? That's my problem. Is like, okay, you guys don't want to have to pay for transport, but what about all of the people that the transport employs that also have families to feed?
It's almost a moot point because jumping turnstiles isn't, I've never seen that prohibited. Right.
I mean,
so the fee, the public transportation fee is voluntary insofar as no one is being prosecuted for jumping
when it comes to
entering.
When it comes to these free buses, when it comes to these grocery stores, not these free grocery stores, these grocery stores that are 5 grocery stores per borough that are in food deserts, right? Because I live in the Lower East Side. We're probably neighbors. I'd love to say hi.
When did these food deserts come up, and in what neighborhoods?
I'm going to finish my statement and then you feel free to come at me. Do you guys look at these individual policies and you just look at the finite, immediate thing it's supposed to fix? Do you guys not look at it in the big picture?
Of them working in the big picture.
Like working and
seen where else it was tried and it's failed
together.
Miserably.
No, but I'm talking about, do you know what I mean?
Taxpayers millions of dollars.
Like if you have a free grocery store, you got that in my head, bro.
Well,
if you have a grocery store, right, that's run by the city.
So what is it? Free
and then you're concerned that there are people that are going to come and loot it.
Yeah.
That could be a concern if you don't also have the housing policies in place and also the increased resources in order so people don't feel like they have to go loot.
Free housing, free resources. You take a free bus to the free grocery store.
When did I say free?
Wait, I'm not afraid of looting. I'm afraid. My concern is the demand is that there'll be very little supply for a huge demand. And I don't mean, so you take away looting and the criminal activity, and you just put human behavior into the mix, and 5 stores, whatever, 10 stores, when the prices are that low, you're gonna have it just.
They're just gonna empty.
Yeah,
but
empty.
it's part human behavior, but it's also partly because people don't have the resources they need.
Correct.
They are only going to act like that if they are hungry, if they feel like
No, I
they
understand.
cannot.
Wait, let me just make
Right?
a point of clarity. I understand what you're saying, but even control for that, and you're absolutely right. When you're living in
Uncertainty.
desperate, but however, that gets a little romanticized, because what about those people? When you make it so accessible, this is my point. Who decides who gets to go into those stores? Because if you have the people who let's say really need it, there will be people who will take advantage of that, of the prices, who will empty those shelves, and then the people who really need it will not get
But
it.
who are we to decide who needs what?
Well,
So-
It's like, you're trying to decide,
So
right?
I'm not
allow
trying to decide.
but anybody to walk in there. I mean, allow billionaires to walk in there.
the point of it is
why
because
not
people
turn
need
them
it.
away?
point of it
I've
is-
been
People need it.
volunteering at a storeroom for new mothers in need in Queens, and even in that scenario where these items are being given away completely for free, there's a documentation of the very specific items that women need so that they can regulate the inventory. It's pure charity. It's a Catholic. It happens at a convent. There's still regulation.
But is that-
You know that used to be the norm across the U.S., right? That churches and community centers would provide those
Going back to
services.
community.
It was
I was
never
gonna say-
part of a government program.
One of the years where my mom wasn't making a lot of money, instead of going and stealing a turkey for Thanksgiving, she went and got it from a local church that she heard on Facebook was giving out select few meals to
And
families
who
that
gives
couldn't
tax
afford.
breaks to the churches?
So it's people donating to the church.
And who gives tax
for
breaks that are
that
able
specific-
to have more money in order to give it to
Can you tell me the difference
federal
between giving
government.
tax breaks to organizations that focus on helping the community and giving each member of the church, say, 120 to 180K a year?
Can you elaborate on what
A
you're
lot
trying
of
to make?
these local government organizations and government charities or handout organizations have some of the highest paid shills working for them.
So just
Unlike the
just one thing on this. It's like nobody wants anyone to go hungry.
Right.
I'm just saying that the government-run grocery stores are not going to work. They're just not going to work. Price controls are not going to help people who need housing. But SNAP programs, actually one of the most effective government programs. This helps people, it gives them money, and then they can go buy at grocery stores who are run efficiently because of capitalism. Capitalism makes these companies very efficient. They're only making 2% margins. A much better way to help people who need food is make more programs like SNAP available. I think have restrictions on the type of calories, so it's not like getting people addicted to junk food.
Right.
But that's a much better way. Reducing regulation on housing is a better way to create housing than saying, I'm going to pull up the ladder after me, and the people who have rent, like controlled apartments right now, they get their place, but the new immigrant family who moves to New York, no more houses going to be built for them. So it's like, I think your policies, the person you're supporting, is actually going to hurt other people. It's going to hurt people that you want to help. And it's not like Cuomo is some like raging like Republican. He's actually like I'm just wondering, like, is it because of the policies or is it because of the vibe that Mom Donnie projects?
Not vibe, but this is a
No?
segue. Sorry.
Sorry, you go. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
We're tight on time, and I have a question. I want to get more into the weeds on this point that you gave a wonderful segue to, which is the specific advantages and disadvantages of the various characters of the candidates that we're faced with.
Go for it.
I just want to briefly say, us
Go for it.
Cuomo's supporters also don't like him. He's just the better option, right? And Silva, he's like cool, but he's never going to win in a million years.
Can I make a comparison? Populism does quite well in the U.S., right? Because we have such disparities. Trump
Right.
and Mamdani, both populist candidates, and completely different sides, but both populist candidates.
Correct.
Mamdani brings a new kind of energy. He brings someone who doesn't have like 800 wrinkles on their face, which government in all different areas can't seem to find, right? He's fresh, he's new, and he's speaking to the people, and he's talking about affordability. That's what makes him exciting. And it's not completely dissimilar to the same message and same approach that Trump had, besides being old. But Trump came in as an outsider saying, I'm pissed off at the elites, I'm pissed off at the people that are in charge. Whether or not you agree with Trump's authenticity, he portrayed an authentic vibe. Mamdani, I personally believe, is actually authentic and wanting to advocate for the people that do need the help the most and not just the 1%. But it's populism. Populism elects people.
I'm going to put a pin on that. I know you have something to say.
You believe Mamdani is authentic?
Correct.
Okay, he just stood in front of a microphone in front of fellow Muslims in New York and literally bold-faced lied and said that his aunt was a victim after 9/11 because she felt afraid to wear her hijab on the subway because maybe she got bad looks, and it turns out she wasn't even in New York. She was living in Tanzania. This man is a pathological liar.
He's got all the
He's a
characterological
genius.
traits of one.
I'm gonna say it because he came in
didn't.
here. He came in here, and you see him during the debate. It's just what it's just what you want. You want a young guy that's smiling, that's promising you, I'm going to bring you the promised land. And people are eating it up. And that is why he's winning. And I just don't, it's unbelievable to me.
I want to.
Carlos.
Oh, please let me
Carlos
jump.
has had his
No,
way.
I love this aunt thing. Give me 2 seconds with this. Okay, so he incorporated the aunt after post 9/11, right? Being too scared of wearing her hijab in 5 to 8 speeches. I forget the exact number, right? Yeah, his only aunt, as you mentioned, doesn't wear hijab and wasn't in America. He just yesterday said, no, not technically my aunt, my father's second cousin.
Did you know that's a cultural thing, though, that people in different cultures were
Called their father's second cousin.
called people that are
Aunts.
close to the family aunts?
And
Yeah.
then he also
Yeah.
clarified
Thank
that,
you. Thank
no
you.
hate crime happened. She was just a little uncomfortable. Right after
But she said-
people from her ideology killed 3,000 people. She
This is
she
the
was a little
dissonance.
That's
uncomfortable
bullshit. I'm sorry.
wearing a
Do not make an do not make an Islamic phobic comment.
That's not Islamophobic, though.
It is. Him saying because from her ideology. No, you said from his ideology killed 3,000
Yeah.
people.
His religion.
So then what?
Well, look.
Do you understand? I studied Islam in school. I'm
well,
a Jewish
thank God
woman
it wasn't
who
in
studied,
Islam that you studied it.
I studied Islam, the religion.
Yes, okay.
Correct, right?
Yeah.
Do you understand the tenets of Islam? Do you understand how extremism exists in all religions, in all aspects? You going down to the level of making an sorry, let me finish. You going down to the level of making an Islamophobic comment regarding someone's religion because you feel like you have to? Shame on you.
So
you believe
Be
that
better.
9/11 was done by the Jews, not the
No, I
Muslims.
believe 9/11 was done by extremists.
I'm really curious
What
to
I-
hear what
Carlos?
Carlos has had to say because he's been really patient.
What's being replicated here, we're all on social media, I'm assuming. We all have iPhones. I feel like what's being replicated here is a particular kind of ideological rhetoric that segments and focuses on the image of something as opposed to kind of taking care of understanding kind of like the longer history of things and the historical repetitions and cycles of just like human lived experience. And I think, and I'm explaining just off the bat, I do not give a fuck about politicians. I assume they all lie on basic general principle because that's how they get elected. And I think the problem is that a lot of people put their eggs into the basket of particular ideologues and politicians. Now, I'm saying this as a card-carrying member of the left. You ask me, who am I voting for? Mamdani. Again, I have to reiterate, that is the fact that that was the first question that you asked of me. Of course, that's the genesis of this dinner, but I think that's it will create the problems that people on either side have of like either side, because what that basically conditions, at least for me, is that Mamdani is like some kind of savior. What he is, it was what Allende represented in Chile in 1973, and what Kennedy represented in 1960, and what Reagan represented in 1980, which is a particular ideological image of a certain kind of change. Now, the reason I feel like why people in this city are very pro Mamdani, or that they've gone on the Mamdani train, is because I feel like there is a general consensus, and people have different interpretations. I think we've all heard tonight all the different kinds of interpretations of what our disenchantment is with the system as it is. A lot of people particularly hone in on the system that has developed in the United States, especially after 1945, of neoliberalist capitalism. Now, Mamdani represents a different approach towards this crisis, which is affecting all of us, but in different ways. And social media, I feel like, does not help, because it divides people in these ways that it's like, you're always going to be a member of the right, you're always going to be a member of the left. I feel like, I'm speaking for myself, but I don't know if I speak. I would love to hear what Jade has to say about this. You haven't said much lately, but I think the reason I'm particularly voting for Mamdani, but also the reason why I kind of teach and engage in art and do all these sort of different things, like trying to understand what humans are, is that I believe that there are generally these kind of two polarities of like a nostalgic return to the way things were, a stability, a security, that has been generally, I think, to the detriment of the left, seen as a right-wing thing. I think that the nostalgia is a basic human concept, like that you want to go back to the way that things were. But also, I also believe in what Elizabeth Bishop, the poet, wrote in one of her final poems, "One art, the art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with the intent to be lost, that their loss is no disaster." I think loss is part of a human project. And I feel like you'd have to like really just kind of like go through the whole history of like what even the left and the right is, not just since 1945, but since 1900 in the US, since 1789 in France. What Mamdani represents, I think, and like I've done the historical readings of this, and I always joke like, what Mamdani is, what that he comes from an academic background, and maybe I'm showing my bias, but like his father, Mahmoud Mamdani, yes, Columbia University professor. He wrote a very definitive book, different kinds of books on African politics that we're drawing upon on our kind of script
What
and
were
treatment.
his father's points about this country and the ideology behind this country?
I mean,
Carlos, finish your comment, whatever you want to say.
No. So yeah, his father was an academic, a professor, right?
Correct.
Who escaped persecution, potential death in Uganda, right? Came to New York, got a job as a professor at Columbia, and what were some of his initial speeches? What were the points he made about the country that accepted him before he was killed?
I mean, to kind of put it crudely, that the discussion in the United States is not what's happening in the world.
His father said that Hitler had the idea from Americans and from America.
But he did.
Okay.
I have,
The Jim Crow institution, absolutely.
Can I interject?
Someone make a strong defense for Cuomo?
I just want to backtrack just real quick and then get into that. I think the thing is we're so held to our moral convictions, and whenever we hear something that affects that or activates whatever those convictions are, we go to heuristics and shorthands, and we tend to just see the person as a caricature, and we all do that, and that's independent of ideology. About the Islamophobia thing, I think, one thing I want to say is like, we have abused the idea of phobia. To claim, and I understand your point. I understand that the feeling, and you can please correct me if I'm wrong. It's distaste in your mouth and your being to hear someone perhaps denigrate another group based on just kind of like a depiction. But the thing is, the Muslim world has not had a renaissance, has not had like Judeo-Christian, like the Christians and Jews, they went through those periods of time where they had that what would you call, not Renaissance, but
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment.
That's
right.
incorrect.
And
That is
it-
factual.
That is very
7th
incorrect.
century.
Keep going.
Hold on. 7th century. Tell me if. First, let me finish. So, from my understanding, and also did study a little bit, no claim to authority on the topic, just not coming from a blind spot. That the Muslim world did not have the same, because it's still a young religion, as as things would go, and when you look at the parts of the world that are experiencing most of the extremism that we saw on 9/11, Americans, U.S. citizens, I'm sorry, it is not Islamophobic to say we are worried about having someone run the city who has these affiliations, and we had planes go through our buildings. I think it is very insensitive to call someone Islamophobic and then thinking that you have the moral high ground, when what the fear is that we're going to see more extremism build up in the city, and how that is just invalidated by calling it bigoted, Islamophobic. This is the problem of the left.
And to follow up
This
on
is the
that,
problem
If
with
you
the left.
take a
Smart.
wide-angle view of history going back 1,500, 2,000 years, it is the case that different religions have had episodes of enlightenment and contraction of their
Right.
their liberal sensibilities,
right.
Correct.
and that's something that we are contending with in the present moment. And we should speak honestly about that.
I'm
I
not
think
sure where we
that's-
can't say that.
What
you
to
know,
follow
I
up
don't
to
know
what
why.
you said, like I agree with what you said. I mean, we have to be honest with ourselves that Islam is not pro-women.
That's incorrect.
It is not
How is it
pro-children.
One
It is
particular
not
strain of
pro-
Islam is not.
But it's
The other
predominant.
so
though.
sorry.
I mean, look at Islamic countries. Like, how are women doing? Like, we cannot
That's
ignore
government, that's
this.
not a
And then
religion.
we have
It's inextricably linked.
That-
Before September 11th, how many Muslims were in the U.S.? Do you have a number, an idea?
Don't have a number.
250K. Okay, so if we were so Islamophobic, or if 9/11 was such a huge problem, how do we go from 250 total in the U.S., right, to the 7 million we currently have? And
You do know it is the highest population, right, of religion among
well,
the
it's a
entire
huge.
world.
So many people are Muslim. Should
Right.
we take them all in?
I think, as someone said, the best of
really
the
loud,
available
sorry.
options. It's definitely disappointing to not have someone with impeccable credentials, no scandals. It'd be nice to have someone like this. It'd also be nice to have someone with charisma. But I think voting for stability, voting for policies that are actually pretty left. I mean, it's not like we're talking about voting for someone crazy on the right. But I think like the policies that Mamdani is supporting are not going to work. And so I am voting for Cuomo as the better option, but that's the case that I can make.
But are you
There's not a
pro-Cuomo
single
or
person who supports
anti-Mamdani?
Cuomo who will be able to give you a
Anti-Mamdani.
good reason why they're supporting Cuomo on a policy thing. This was written about extensively very recently. His policies fucking suck. He probably won't do anything, but nothing is better than what Mamdani is suggesting.
Would you guys believe me if I said I interviewed a former economist of New York City about Mamdani's policies, and he said that they are all feasible?
There's one
former.
economist. I believe you that you interviewed an economist, but I don't think that one economist makes the claim for them.
anybody can say
there's
something.
many.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
especially
you,
if he's
New
in
York City.
support of. I mean, it's just crazy to me that you guys are willing to trust a guy who has just like zero political experience. Like a few years ago, he was like a SoundCloud rapper trying to be. And now we're putting all of our faith into this man who has just zero track record.
vibes.
And what I was hearing, sorry?
It's vibes.
Voting for
vibes.
vibes. It's not fresh.
Right,
That's the thing, is they're not
he
fresh
buys
ideas.
marijuana from the local cannabis shop, right? Like he's super cool, super hip, whatever. But like, we have serious issues. We have a serious crime problem. We have a serious illegal immigration problem in this city, and it is affecting the people that the left claims to care
That's
the
right.
most about:
That's right.
women, children, and the elderly people, and
That's right.
people that need real help. But instead, and this is another topic, but like, I think it's going to take New York to fall for everybody's eyes to truly be open. And it's a shame, but I've kind of just accepted it at this point that this is what we need. We need a complete destruction of the city that we know and love.
It's historical.
And
I mean,
Jade,
I get it.
as someone who works with children in New
Yeah.
York in low-income communities, why do you support Mamdani? Why do you have faith in Mamdani?
I have faith in Mamdani because it's exactly what you're describing. Is anybody here happy with the state of New York right now? Like anybody? at
Adams
all?
is a neutral. I'm also fine with Adams.
Okay.
Over Mamdani, honestly.
Sure.
Sorry.
But I think we need radical change. Like, why not try something different,
But it's not
right?
new though, right?
No, just let me
We've
finish what I have to
seen how
say.
his ideologies have failed
ideology
in the past
His
in other
ideology
areas.
is just, what if everybedy's needs were met?
But
You know,
that's
what
not
if
how
they-
human behavior works.
Possible.
No,
And
but
you
why
cannot
does it
just
take
give
radical
out things.
imagination to
That's not
imagine a
enough.
world where
But-
people have what they need to survive and thrive?
Because
Why is he a radical?
having
for that?
everything you need, that's different for everybody, and not everything is a human right. I'm sorry, but housing is not a human right.
not
Where
how
does
the
it say
state
that in
is
the
built.
Constitution?
You don't think that that's a human right to
No,
have
I don't.
shelter over
Not
your
as per
head?
the
And it's
Constitution.
And you're a
definitely not my
Christian?
responsibility
That's not
to
the
pay for somebody
Constitution,
else's
though.
house when nobody's helping me out.
also
I'm
wasn't a
busting my butt
constitution.
every single day.
But look, it doesn't matter. The thing is, we fundamentally, there's a group of people on the left who want to change the country as per, again, LBJ. This is not the general will Rousseauian states of America. This is we are a constitutional republic. And you'd mentioned something about ideology, about populism. You know, Mamdani's populism is fundamentally anti-American. Trump's populism is, you know, he's got narcissism in him for sure. He's got all those problems that we can all just kind of trace in our minds right now. But fundamentally, he is more moderate than we make it out to be. And pulling away, just an example, then I'll get to the Cuomo thing, to give just as a segue. The idea of, for instance, this was interesting to me, showing an inversion of how people think about reality in this country and don't understand this country. That the states would have the right to decide on abortion laws and not a wholesale law throughout the whole country. That's fascism. That's dictatorship. When you pull the government away, that's called a republic. That's called a constitutional republic. That's federalism. I think that most people on the left do not, and this was me for 15 years of my life. I did not understand this country as I thought I did until I cracked open the Federalist Papers, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. I did not vilify our founding fathers and use a generalist mindset saying that they were slave owners, so therefore they're not good for us. No, I think that we have got to get to basics and to understand this country. And and this goes to the Cuomo thing. Cuomo represents, I think, your quintessential sort of neoliberal managerial person. I think that is the perfect thing for New York City. It is a way too heterogeneous place. It is riddled with multiculturalism. It is not homogeneous. It is not one size fits all. You have someone who is boring by all standards when it comes to politics and frightening for people who want radical change. But this is somebody who gives stability in a time of utter chaos, and populism of the Mamdani ilk does not have a good record. It just doesn't. And it's paradoxical for me because I was the guy who voted for Bernie twice, canvassed for him, wanted change, saw how the DNC obstructed his potential. And I was so angry at that. And they did they did it with Kamala Harris, though. There's no evidence that the DNC is changing. So I get it. I get that the populist left is like, we're sick of this. And you know what? Kudos to you. I get it. I was there. It's a reaction. And I know that there's principle behind it. You all have very interesting and really valid experiences to bring to the table. And I'm not here to change your minds, but I'm just making the case for Cuomo and for why I think that we've gotten so off track is we need to get to grassroots. We need to get back to the fundamentals of what this country is. And I think someone like Cuomo is a bit of an equilibrium.
But the paradox that this country was founded upon was that there was no set definition on what this country was. There was the Declaration of Independence, there was the Bill of Rights, but how those were interpreted or a malleable and continuing experiment. That is why the Constitution did not have the right for you or I to be considered legal citizens until 1865, when a thing called the Amendment was passed that gave us those rights. So I think that it's a malleable experiment. I generally, a lot of people on the left believe that those in power, not people who are voting citizenry, but those in power on the right, want to have this idea of the country as a locked, finished state, and all we're doing is perfecting it. When I vote for Mamdani, I'm engaging in the idea of the experimental nature of what this country can be.
Let's
Let him
rewrite and
finish. Let
rethink
him
all our
fucking
founding
finish.
documents.
What is wrong
I
with
really
you?
dislike this argument.
I think the problem is we all have a different vision of America, right? Like, what does it mean?
Which is very American.
Yeah, it is very American. But if America, as what I'm interpreting you're describing, is this zero-sum capitalist game, like, no, that's not what I think America should be.
You know, I don't think that. I think just fundamentally, when it comes to rights, when it comes to protect, we have a very limited framework as to how the. I understand your point about the economic stance. Like there are people on the right. There are, you know, you have your neocons and your liberals who really lean hard into the laissez-faire to a certain degree. But I don't think that's that's not where I'm coming from. I don't think that's where a lot of people who left the left and went to MAGA are coming from. I think we see a collapse, especially in the liberal cities, and we don't have evidence that it works. First, second. We have come to understand the founding documents better and the foundation of this country, and we see. I don't want to speak for everyone. I should speak for myself. I saw for myself how limited the framework is, but that limited structure is so powerful because it says, you know, you don't have the right to tell someone what to say or think, but then, you know, you have a left that has for years now monitored what people say and think. That is illiberal, anti-American, to the core. And then government interference, that's 1960s. That's FDR too, of course. But even those ideas were repudiated.
In what manners was
Well, you know, Social Security, like this was supposed to, this was not supposed to be,
Well,
right.
Checkers.
Under Biden, every single social media company, Twitter, Facebook, Meta, right?
started in the 1960s as a kind of
And then
amalgamation.
skyrocketed under Biden.
That's a wrap.
Okay.
Oh, that's a wrap?
We
are
are
thoughts.
2 minutes over.
Is it possible
We
to
gotta
have
go.
like,
We gotta
wait,
wrap
But
this up.
I will welcome everyone to continue talking at a bar down the street.
I do want to say one thing to everyone. Like, you're right, somebody mentioned it, about experiencing each other. I'm paraphrasing, I think you mentioned it, like social media, you know, hardens, kind of like we just have this picture of someone as a shortcut. You're on the left, so therefore, no, that's the route to dehumanization. You know, you have, hearing your story, like I connected with you because my mother was a special ed teacher.
Yeah.
And so I have a window a little bit into what that's like, not personally, you know, in terms of, and I think we have to do that more. You know, I don't see anybody here as a member of their party, you know.
Yeah, I think that is important. I just like, I don't know, it makes me sad when I hear that like housing isn't a human right. It hurts my heart.
Thank you, everyone, for participating and being so generous with your perspectives and experiences.
I will also say that thank
Oh,
you
you
for this
paid.
because it really like somebody else said, it humanizes like all Republicans or conservatives are not just like these old white men that want to control women's bodies. Like we're more than just that, and then liberals are more than just like purple-haired feminists that want 80 abortions. So I appreciate you guys.
My hair is dyed though, I have to be honest.
So is mine, girl, but it's not blue. So, and if it was, that's fine too.
Thank
Who
you.
said disagreement was never a reason not to be friends? Who was it?